Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Today I am sharing the curriculum hits and misses from this year. I am sharing the resources that worked beautifully for us and the ones that just didn't live up to the hype. Now for language arts, for my 8th grader, I chose language arts level J. And this program has so many exceptional books. Books like The Weston Game and The Gamage Cup, The Phantom Toll Booth, and The Giver. And these are all really interesting, well-written books that are engaging and also teach really valuable lessons. And the great thing about this language arts program is that the writing assignments are integrated with the literature. So there are assignments like analyze the plot or the characters, the conflict, and the theme of the different books. Also students have writing assignments such as using the author's example, write your own piece based on his or her storytelling or a personal narrative. Now the grammar lessons are also integrated with the literature. So all of the grammar lessons are based on passages from the books that the student is reading. And so they will have, so they will copy a passage from the book and then highlight different aspects of it, different nouns, adjectives, verbs, different clauses or phrases, different punctuation marks. And so that really helps kids understand and learn grammar organically and in a pretty authentic way because those lessons are connected to the books that they are enjoying reading. Another thing that made this curriculum a hit this year is that it is so clear. The instructions for me as the teacher are well worded and they are crystal clear, so I don't have to guess. I didn't have to wonder, well, what are they talking about here? And the rubrics are also very helpful for me as a teacher. So Language Arts J was a perfect bridge between middle school and high school. It's ideal for 8th graders. You could possibly use it with an advanced 7th grader. And my daughter's writing skills have really improved using it. She has a good grasp of literary analysis, which is key for high school writing. And so it gave her a really good understanding of the different literary elements in literature. She also found each reader such a treat. She would go off to her bedroom and read more than what was assigned for that day, with a snack usually. And she has really enjoyed all of the books that she's read. And so this was a great program for her. And she is not naturally, she doesn't have a natural bent towards language arts, but this has really helped her enjoy language arts. So that is a huge plus. The second hit this year was Sunlight's World History Level 520. And this is the book that comes with the program, Streams of Civilization. This is volume 1. And there is a volume 2 as well. Volume 1 goes from creation to about the Protestant Reformation, and then volume 2 picks up with the events right after the Reformation and goes all the way through the present time. So one thing I have really enjoyed about this particular curriculum is that it has a biblical perspective of history. And this is something that I have been waiting for probably more than a decade. We've been homeschooling for almost 12 years now. And I have been waiting for a curriculum that integrates biblical history with world history. And that starts off with Genesis as the foundation for human history. And that program does that, and it does it really, really well. It gives good reasons for creationism, but it also presents the evolutionary perspective. So it does give a balanced idea of how, where we came to be and our origins. It just presents both sides of the issue, and it gives a really good, really good evidence for creationism. It also devotes space to biblical history throughout the text. For example, when my son was studying ancient Egypt, that section had a part about Moses in it, and the Exodus, and it talked about, it gave some good reasons for why the Pharaoh of the Exodus would be this particular Pharaoh, based on archaeology and Egyptian records. So it integrated what students are learning from the Bible within an overall, larger context, the frame of world history. Now, the questions do focus on typical reading comprehension, questions such as describe the Roman Empire during the Pax Romana, but it also goes deeper. Those questions that Sunlight provides gives students a good understanding of the ability to think critically about what they're reading. It poses questions like, what do you think of this particular historical figure's actions? What do you think of this type of government? What do you think about, this event? And it helps students try to think about what events relate to one another throughout history. And also, how do these events that happened long ago relate to what's happening now? How can they help us understand about our current time period and the problems and issues that we're facing right now in 2025? Something else that made this particular curriculum a huge hit is the textbook itself. And my kids are not really used to using textbooks. And so for me to say that this was a hit with my son, that's saying a lot, because textbooks are just not something we've used a lot in our homeschool. But Streams of Civilization does not read like a dry, dusty history textbook. It has full color pictures. It has pictures and paintings of artifacts and historical figures, maps. So it's very interesting. It's engaging, and it reads almost like a story. It's not like, well, this thing happened and then that thing happened in 1300 BC, and it has no relevance for our lives today. So it's highly engaging. So my junior in high school loved this curriculum, and he understood so much about world history, how where we came from, how those events that happened thousands of years ago relate to what we're dealing with today. And I cannot tell you how many aha moments he's had. There are times when he's reading the textbook and he'll just spontaneously bust out with, oh, so that's why that happened, and that's why this thing is this way. And he's excited to share those aha moments with me. So that is a huge plus as a mom. Curriculum hit number 3 is Matthew C. Algebra 1. And for me to say that algebra was a hit, that's a huge deal. I am not naturally inclined toward math, And I really struggled with algebra in high school and in college, but this curriculum makes it so easy to teach. And there are just straightforward lessons in here that are great for kids and great for the teacher. In the back of the book, there are many times there will be multiple ways to solve a problem, because we all know that kids don't always learn exactly the same way, and they may solve problems differently. So that's very helpful for me to know, to see that there are multiple ways to solve a problem. And so if my child has solved it a different way than what's typical, I can see that the answer that they've given and the way that they solve the problem is still correct. What's great about a Math UC algebra is that it takes the abstract concept of algebra and puts it in the real world. There are lots of real life applications given, and the video lessons are highly engaging. The teacher does a great job of explaining them, and also he's very funny at times, and he's also relatable. My daughter has laughed out loud during some of the lessons. So not only is she learning algebra, but she is also engaged with the material. And Math UC algebra also comes with manipulatives, which helps kids understand those abstract concepts. So especially for kids who are hands-on, who are visual learners, this is a huge plus for them. What's also great about this curriculum is that kids can do as many lessons as needed until the concept is mastered. And there's also a review built into subsequent lessons. And then once they're done with those, if they feel like they've really grasped the concept, then they go on to take the lesson test. So one good tangible outcome of this curriculum is that my child understands how to problem solve, and they feel confident in their problem solving skills. And also they understand how math knowledge is useful in everyday life. Now for the misses this year. The first miss is Generations Survey of Church History. And I had really, really high hopes for this curriculum. We switched from Sunlight's history to Generations for my daughter because we kind of needed something to fill in the gaps until she was ready for high school. And she had already done the majority of Sunlight's history with her brother. And so we chose this program, and she was really, really excited about it. But it turns out that the workbook questions that come with the curriculum they focus heavily on dates and minor details, things that are kind of insignificant. It doesn't focus on big picture ideas, which has really frustrated my 8th grader. She is a big picture thinker, not a minor detail kind of person. So based on her answers in the workbook and also the first test that she took, it was hard to tell what she learned, if she had really gotten much out of the material. So what I ended up doing was asking her my own questions. I would skim through the material and quiz her orally on the major concepts and ideas in the chapters. So I recommend just using the textbook and then making up your own questions if you do use this curriculum and your child is not that crazy about minor details and they're more of a big picture thinker. The textbook itself is great, The text is broken up into sections logically within each chapter. Each chapter is divided into topics in rough chronological order. There are beautiful, like, full color pages, which my daughter loves because she, again, is a big picture thinker. She learns in pictures, basically. That's what attracted her to the curriculum when I showed her examples of it. It just didn't work for her with the workbook. So this may work better for families who love a very detail-oriented, workbook-heavy approach, but it just wasn't a great fit for us. Another miss this year was Sunlight's Health and Human Anatomy. And some of the books were outdated. They had outdated material, such as this one, Food and Nutrition for Every Kid. There are ideas and projects and activities and some experiments that go along with this book, but I felt like a lot of the material was just outdated. There was that, and there were some very interesting and engaging books for a typical middle schooler, but they weren't scheduled well. For instance, the main text or spine that they are reading is scheduled for like the first 3 days of the week, and then they'll have another book scheduled for the 4th day, and then there's yet one more scheduled on the 5th day. I felt like it just wasn't cohesive. It was kind of choppy, and so there would be a week in between one book's scheduled reading. My child would forget what she had read in between. There's also no science experiment kit provided, and in all of the other Sunlight science programs, there is a science supplies kit that is provided. And so we would often have to run to the store to get supplies and things that they said would be in your household, just things that you could grab and use for the experiment. We just didn't have laying around. So we'd have to go to the store pretty much almost every week for those supplies. And another thing that was frustrating for us using this curriculum is that the health section / sex education was providing good biological information, but not a whole lot of moral and spiritual insight. So I did have to supplement that part with another book that we were reading that I felt like it gave a really good biblical overview and perspective of a biblical sexual ethic. And the last miss this year was Sunlight World Literature, level 530. All of the writing assignments for the first half of the year were based on this book, The Lively Art of Writing. And they were good practice for the art of writing, but instead of the actual literature. Now they did schedule the main world literature texts right at the beginning, starting at the beginning of the year, but there were no assignments for writing based on those books in the first half of the year. So while The Lively Art of Writing itself is a very useful resource, I feel like it should have been scheduled earlier on in high school, not instead of an 11th and 12th grade level program. It's also not scheduled well. They would schedule 2 chapters at a time, and so there would be lots of assignments in 1 week, and then nothing for several weeks after that. and there was no writing in the literature scheduled in between. So what I ended up doing was rescheduling many of the assignments from the book, and so that gave my son the opportunity to have writing assignments every single week, which he's used to. And then I tried to fill in the gaps with, if there was time left over in the first half of the year where there were no writing assignments. So I just kind of made it my own based on focusing on the literature that he was reading. Also, the rubric that comes with this curriculum makes grading papers and essays difficult because it's based on levels instead of points. So it goes from level 5 down to level 3 and then down to level 1. And then it's hard to know which letter grade should fall into each of those categories. So he wouldn't always get everything in a level 5. It was mostly level 5, and then some I highlighted level 3 categories. So it was hard to know exactly which grade to give him, but I tried to do my best. It's just a lot easier. I don't have to guess, and it's, writing is subjective enough as it is. So to have a more objective rubric with points that, you can just add up and divide the points by the total and then get a percentage, which then translates into a letter grade, that is much easier. So those are our curriculum hits and misses for 2025. If you've had curriculum fails, you are definitely not alone. Every family is different, and it's okay to have things not work out the way that you planned because your child is unique and you need to find what works for them. And it's okay to drop something even mid-year if it's just really not working. You are not failing, you are just adjusting. So tell me in the comments, what was your biggest hit this year and what was your biggest miss? I'd love to hear your experiences. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, you are not just a mom.